How's it going, everybody? I'm Drifty from Driftwood Gaming, and I will be joined with T as soon as the baby falls asleep. Today, like the title says, hopefully it says this, we're going to be adding first seed material, which is RPG Maker MV DLC, but I read in the end user's license agreement that it can be used in other game engines. And so, of course, we're going to be encrypting the project so that the tile sets can't be easily obtained. Of course, you can break any encryption if you're good enough. But still, another reason why I thought it would be a good title for today's stream, because the First Seed Material team just put out a new pack. So you can check that out on the RPG Maker webs forum. And yeah, they've got, I like the original Forest and Towns a little bit better than the new ones, but the new ones aren't bad either, they're okay. And if you want to get those are available. And yeah, so we're going to be adding, we got to update the map. I mean, I've fixed the save load. There was one last bug yesterday, and that was when you tried to load a game without a save file there, it would crash and the game would just close. So I made an exception that says if it tries to load and there's no game, just restart the game. So it stops the player from having to double click and reopen the application and feeling like there's just a bug. So I fixed that last bug. There's some limitations to the save load system, but I've managed to work around them perfectly fine. You have to save and load from the same menu. You can save and load data from everywhere in the game on any object, but you have to save and load from the same menu. If you save it in one menu and you try to load that data while in another room, I say menu, but I mean room, then it will crash. So, and vice versa. If you save and you try to load somewhere else, obviously it's going to crash. Yeah, oh, that's the same thing. Whatever. So I made a save load room and put some buttons up and made a death animation. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm at Driftwood Gaming, you'll see that I posted a death animation. Let's take a look at it right now. I took out the Swampy Mountains tile set, so now that there's no other tiles. So what we're going to do is put some first seed material on top of the stuff I made in Aseprite. So let's go ahead. I think if I go up here, I can load a game, and it has all this stuff on here, and I'll just return. Now we have a sword. I increased the attack speed of the player, so it went from animation frame rate of 12 to 16, just to give the player a little bit more sense of smashy. I still haven't been able to get the code working that makes it where you can attack and move at the same time. I really want to be able to attack and move at the same time so the player can swing their sword, excuse me, while they're moving. But it's not, I haven't figured it out yet. I added some particle effects to when you hit an enemy. They're kind of subtle, but they're there. I think it looks really nice. I went through I think a dozen different particle effects before I found one that was not too like crazy, and so I settled on a little flash with some, and I ended up reducing it until it was minimal enough that I felt like it looks like a little impact, and it feels like there's something there. Obviously, we need sound and maybe some slight screen shake when the player gets hit. So I was watching a video on how to do screen shake and the best practices to tween your screen shakes instead of just go from like 0 to 100 real quick. But anyway, let me show you that the save load works. I think I demonstrated in a GIF, but that's easily doctored. So when we loaded our game, I think we were at, I don't know what level we were at, but here we are at level 2 with 95 HP. So let's save the game. Let's go get hit and take a bunch of damage. I imagine I will make I press escape and it's got this little menu right here. I might make a save load button that will be available when you're in certain maps, so you can press escape and click save load. It won't work like right now in the middle of this map. It shouldn't work because I don't want the player to be able to save in the middle of a fight necessarily. But see, we took some damage here. Let's go ahead and we're at 39 hit points. Let's load the game. You can see it put us right back to where we were at 95. So we're taking our object variables. We're storing all of that data in a DS map. It's a data structure in GameMaker Studio. And then we are taking all of those DS maps for each variable, and we're putting those in a DS list. And we're taking those DS lists. We'll have several of them. I think I have 6 right now. We take all of those DS lists and we put them inside a DS map wrapper. Boom, loading works perfect. Cool. And the reason why we have to put them in a wrapper is just because we use the JSON encode commands inside of GMS2, and it doesn't like to encode DS list, but it has no problem encoding DS maps into JSON files. So we are going to save all of that onto the hard drive as whatever file extension we want to call it, but it's basically a JSON string. And then we load that back, and it takes that DS map wrapper, it opens it up, and it assigns all of those objects, their variables, by keywords. So it's really, really cool system. I didn't create it, obviously. Like I saw somebody doing this. I think I watched a video from Sean Spalding, and he got it from somebody else too. One of the devs for Hyperlight Drifter. And I was like, this is the way to do it. This is how I'm going to save my game. And so I kind of did it like that. Fantastic. Let's start adding some tiles. What do you say? It's going to be kind of rough. At first. But, so this is cool. The first seed material tile sets are 48 by 48. But I loaded them in as 16 by 16. So I have even more control on, like, how to build the way it looks. Of course, it's going to take longer this way to make your maps. But I think it's pretty cool. It'll definitely be a unique representation. Of the tile sets. Sorry for the long dramatic pause. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Just like when I was using RPG Maker, using these tile sets in RPG Maker, it takes a little bit of time to learn the best way to do it, especially when you break them down further into 16 by 16. It's going to give me more options, I suppose, as to how I want it to look. if I go like this? Ooh, that's nice. I'll have some, it looks a little weird with this, with the other, what if I go on top of it? Something like that. Well, I have to consider where my collisions are too. It'll definitely be a lot better than the mountain tile set that I was originally making. It looked more like a swamp. I've heard people tell me that. It looked really bad, and I didn't plan to keep it that way. I wasn't like, this is my final version, yada yada, right? How does this look? What if we do something like this? A little bit of green, huh? So cool. I'm not going to be too worried about how all of this looks, but I do want it to constantly get better. So right now I need to slap down a lot of tiles, and hopefully they blend together well enough . Yeah. How are you guys doing today? I just kind of want to see how that looks in game. Like when we're zoomed in a lot, we can see a lot more of the flaws. And I can definitely see some issues with it, but man, does it make a huge difference. Check this out.
Nice.
Right? Doesn't it look so much better than like
Yes.
just black or crappy Swamp Thing? Obviously, I haven't got it just right, but being able to edit this tile set using 16 by 16 tiles is so much better
gonna look nice.
Yeah, like you can like, oh, I don't like how this one tile looks, but I don't have another 48-48 that matches. Well, maybe you have a piece of a 48-48. You have a quarter of a 48-48 that'll match a little bit better. I see right here looks like a problem to me. I'll try to address this here. Maybe something like that. Doesn't look so weird looking. And then also right in this spot looks a little weird to me. Let me see if I can just get a big chunk. It'll definitely have a unique feel. You know, it would be interesting to write like a for loop that populates a selected area using like a select, like using a tile set that's got however many entries we want, and so that it just picks one of these 16 by 16s and places it in all of them, and then fill the whole thing, and then just kind of fill in the gaps, running like one for loop. So I'm using 3 layers. I added more layers. I have the ground bottom, the ground middle, and the ground top, which all take place underneath the player. However, the player will be, of course, the player will be drawn on top of it. Let's take something like this and start over here. Wait, maybe try this side. I need some sort of top tile. Let's go with ground top, and maybe I have that over here. Yeah, I do. Let's take something like this. Like that. And then for the ground bottom, I could extend this out. Like that. The player may be able to, no, they won't be able to walk on it, so that's fine. There we go. Hey, that looks really nice. Essentially, you can have infinite layers, so that's really cool. It's definitely going to take longer to design all of the maps, but I imagine I'll get faster at it the more I do it. You can actually add like some stuff like this where it fits. Yeah. The ability to take a 48 by 48 and break it up into 3 or 4 16 by 16 tiles. No, 9. So 48 by 48, 32 by 32, 48 by 16, 32, 48, 16, 32, 48. So this would be one tile on the standard RPG Maker MV, like that. And I could take that one tile and divvy it up into 9 slices and decide to take only this piece, or these four, or these two, or, yeah. That adds a lot of ability there. Definitely gives you more control, but it also requires more time building it to make it look right. And like kind of like understanding, I guess, of how to make it look good. Where was I? I was doing this. And I feel like the top needs to be let's take this tile and just bring it down like this. There we go. This is letting me extend this out. But then I also want to take maybe this tile maybe some of that. Oh wait, I have an idea. Yeah, I can kind of go like this. First of all, I have to figure out how many do I need to do the edge. 2. So I'll make the edges. And on the top, when I switch to top layer, I can do something like that. So I need to figure out where I'm going to put the top layers first. Even if I change these, it'll... And then once I lay that out, I can put find the right tiles. Whoa. I have confidence that I'll get this. Like, I'll eventually come up with a system or a few systems with any tile set that I decide to use that will work and look good enough. It's much easier to draw the bottom side than it is to draw the top side, I'm finding. Yeah, man, that's coming together. The ability to edit in 16 by 16 is proving to make this more time consuming but more fun, and it gives me a sense that I have more control over the final look of it. Hey Peter Apple, how are you doing? Alright, now I gotta get the top looking a little bit better. I might have to move ground top layer above the instances layer so that it draws above the player. That's okay though. It looks a little weird that this is like a rocked back part, rocked, like stony back part, but then this has like grass coming off of it. But I'm okay with it for right now. Maybe I'll switch to this for the next time I come through here. At least all the maps will look different. That's something to think about. Let's see how it looks in game. I'm sure there's going to be spots that don't look quite right. Like right here. Yeah, like this is all drawn as... I mean, I could also just make the collision layer pop out more here, But first thing I want to try is moving ground top above the player. So we'll put the ground top above everything but the top particle layer and the GUI. I mean, and collision, but collision's invisible, so like I could obviously just draw a collision if I wanted to draw a collision, and I could put that so that you couldn't walk there. In fact, I might as well just go like this. But first of all, before I draw that, let me see if the player, it lets the player walk there, but it draws this above it, which I think it should, and it might look cool to not add collision right there. Yeah, so this is nice. So it lets the player walk down here behind the mountain. I actually really like that. That's nice. Let me touch up the collision just a bit right here. So it goes like that instead of like that. And maybe right here too. Much better. AA, where did you get the tile set? It is called the First Seed Material tile set, and it's available as an RPG Maker MV DLC. However, the end user's license agreement states that it can be used for other engines. So that's what I'm doing. It is a 48 by 48 base tile set, and I'm designing this game with 16 by 16 tile sets that I've created. But importing the 48 by 48 works well because 48 is perfect division. You can divide 48 by 48 by 16 very nice. So with each 48 by 48 tile, you get 9 16 by 16 tiles to use, and it works out really nice. What's up, Wasif? How are you doing? I guess we can hide that collision layer. That's a start there. That's a start. I guess I'll finish this right side and put a cave in the wall. And instead of making you go here to save, I'll eventually make a save point or an accessor to that in the menu. And then I'll store where the player is at in X and Y so that I can access the save menu from the escape menu. I think that'll work better for now. You doing your studies right now, Asif? That's understandable. What are you studying? Wow, this gives the illusion that you're flying. I can make a map with a scrolling background and then just like draw an airship on it and then have the airship flying over the background like this, and it kind of looks like you're flying over mountains. It's kind of mesmerizing. Babe, check this out. Imagine this is an airship, right? And
Oh, that's freaky.
I moved it. Imagine this is an airship and you're just going like this.
Uh-huh.
Kind of seems like
Like
your
an
airship's
island
flying
airship.
over
Yeah.
the mountains, huh? So I can make a huge map that's like, or a map that loops
Uh-huh.
the background, and then draw like a static airship on here.
Like a cutscene.
Make a cutscene where you're flying through an air.
That's cool.
That's a cool idea, huh?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna do something like that eventually.
That's awesome.
Or you're over. I could do this with ocean tiles too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What if I had? Do I have any? I think on a different layer. Let's go with the top. Of course, the top layer would override all these. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. Anyway. Midterm exams. Wait, the ground top. Yeah, I need this as a top, but also as a second middle layer. Let me have ground middle 2. I'll call it ground middle top. Ground. I like that I can have as many layers as I want. I'm just trying to figure out what I should call them. Let's add another ground layer, and let's call it ground middle top. And as a point of practice, I'm going to just try to keep them all the same. So if I load something on a layer and I switch to like the save screen, it doesn't say layer not found, yada yada, everything is good. Same thing with the start screen, the title screen. So I'll put the ground top up here and go here, add a new layer, have 2, ground middle top, and select the same tile sets for middle top. Tile set for top, and then ground middle is this one, bottom is this one, of course collision will be this one, save load, collision is that one, ground top is this one, ground middle top is that same one, ground middle is this one, and then ground bottom will be this one. And that's what I have over here. Ground middle top is going to be this one. That way the player I can draw things from this tile set where the player will walk on top of them. And then I can draw them as they would appear on top of the player. If I put them in this layer. That lets me use this tile set. So if I wanted to draw, let's do a tree. If I did this entire tree right here, the player would walk over the whole tree. And I'll illustrate that. And it'll look very funny. Because this is below the instance layer. Now that doesn't look quite right. And alternatively, let me erase this. If I drew this whole tree on just this layer, did I not select something for this? Oh no, this layer. If I drew that same tree right here, the whole tree would be above the player. Once again, it's not what we want. So this looks good, right? But then we go right here and it still shows the tree as being above the player. And we can collide right through it. So by splitting this tile set into two different layers and adding a collision third layer, we can make this weird graphic issue a non-issue. So let's do that. How would we start? Well, actually we would start by putting the tree down on the top layer where we'd want it. Let's say we put it here. And then we're going to delete any layer that we think the player should be drawn in front of, not behind. So like this, and maybe this whole layer. So then we take this layer, which is below, and we get the tiles that we were missing, and we place those there. So the player will be in front of these tiles, but behind the rest of it. And then we go to the collision layer and we decide, well, where should the player not be allowed to walk at? Well, probably on this one and this one. And right here, maybe right there as well. So that little area will be where the player can't walk. But they'll be in front of it right here, and then as the player walks above here, it'll be on top of the player. So we split this one tree into 3 layers, and now, if I got this right, the player should be able to walk behind it, in front of it, but not collide through it. So you can see sort of on top of it, but as you go back, it goes behind it, like so. Of course, I'm getting hit by this thing. Darn it. Let me load the game. Because the load didn't work. Maybe it's because I edited the map or something? It might have something to do with it. Yeah. It says it loaded, but then it crashed. I think if I change the map, it changes something in the data, because it's storing everything into a DS map, DS list, DS map wrapper.
Yeah.
And then if you
Although
change
when
something,
you delete it should delete it from the data, don't you think?
I think in order to get around it, all I have to do is save again, and then it'll load, because now it saves the changes that I've made.
Right.
Right. So like I go in here, and if I save, it'll let me load. And now anytime I load, it'll work because now it knows this.
Right.
But what's happening is it's trying to restore a different map. So I have to make sure that, I mean, obviously this won't be a problem for the players because they're not going to be changing the map. Like it'll be set in stone. They
Why
say,
is it showing collision?
oh, just because I have it on,
Oh, okay.
so I can see where it's at.
Oh.
Just turn it on and off like right there. Like it's still it's still there. It's
Yeah.
just just a vision of it.
Invisible.
So here's the tree, and I've made it and drawn it in 3 layers, so you can't collide with it. That's the collision layer. But you are in front of it right here. You see how you're in front of the shadow, and then you're behind the shadow, or you're behind it. So this is the top layer, which is that one. So now I can start adding things to the map in 3 layers:
Nice.
collision, top, and bottom, or top middle. Let me just get some stuff in here.
Your enemies need collision.
They do. I still haven't got collision checks with my enemies. They're sort of like floating around, and they can go through everything. I also want to be able to swing and move at the same time, and I want to tighten up the collision boxes to get rid of the player. Like, the player's not really invulnerable, especially with the amount of projectiles I plan to put out. So the player's going to take plenty of damage. It's not the problem. The player will still take damage while they're swinging from projectiles, but they won't take damage from collisions while they're swinging. It looked like the mob went through the collision. Yeah, because you can see they will. Because the enemies don't have collision, They don't have tile set collision detection. They currently will collide with the player and push the player back. I suppose I can do that next. I'll probably do that soon. But I got sick of seeing my terrible day one tile sets, right? Like, I made all the art except for this sprite on the first day. And so I figured now that I've got save load working, I've got the core game loop set it right. You kill creatures, you get a higher level. Oops. Clicked off the screen. I want to make it look pretty because people will judge a game by the way it looks, absolutely. So I need to make it look better. And that's sort of what I've been doing with making the player sprite feel and look better, as well as playing with all the sprites, adding particle effects so that, you know, when they die, it's satisfying. Boom, boom, boom. They explode, right, in little particles. And even when this guy shoots stuff out, I added a small particle effect to when the player gets hit with a projectile. You'll see it. Like, it's very minor, and I don't want it to stand out a lot. But you'll see that it's like a little splash. A little spark flies off the player. Boom, boom. And I like that subtle, very, very subtle particle effect. And I work hard to make it not super noticeable. And when you hit the player, you get this little tiny flash on the, or when you hit the player. When you hit the enemy from the player, you see a little tiny splash of, like a flash of yellow light. Did you say something?
No.
Okay, thought you pointing at me. But yeah, I like this. This is good. I still need to figure out how to stop my tile set collision from making my player spaz out. If you see what happens here, he's spazzing out. Now, like, you see if I walk into the tile set from the left side, a collision, it works perfectly fine. And this is the way it should look. The player should appear to be, like, trying to move, but not able to move. And then from the bottom, it does the same thing, it's fine. But from the right, it spazzes out, and from the top, it spazzes out. You see that? Left is fine, and down is fine. Left and down doesn't spaz the player, but wait, left and down at the same time does. Up does, right does, and up and right really does. Like, look at that. Watch. This is the spaz, this is a spaz, this is double spaz. And then I have that same thing. If you press down, it works perfect. If you press left, it works perfect. But if you press down left, it does spaz a little bit. So I got to figure that out. That's a small thing, but it is something I want to work on. I'm getting better at coding, though. Like, I'm understanding more and more concepts, and that was the point of making these games, too, is just to get better at everything. I'm better at sprite art than I was before I started this project. I've done more Aseprite work for this project than any other project, besides, like, maybe a long-running project like Natural Explorers. I've done a lot of sprite work, too. But everything, pretty much, up until this point has just been made in Aseprite, with the exception of my wife making a creature, the third creature. Let's see it.
The writhing mass.
A writhing mass, which is this little thing
That's
right
my
there.
boy right there.
Yep, T made that one. It does look cool. It's probably my favorite of the three, obviously.
It was funny, I was thinking of doing Inktober. I haven't really done very well. But yesterday's theme was bait.
I died. That's the when you die, that's the death scene. I haven't shown that off really.
Nice.
So when you die, if you try to save the game, you know, with a dead character, it won't let you. I've disabled that. And then if you try to return with the dead character, you can't. You're stuck. You can either close the program or you click load game, and it takes you back to where you were. At this point, I'm going to get all the gear. Boom, 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 boom. Put it on. And save the game. Now, as soon as I make a change to the map, it's going to mess up my save files again. But that's fine. The player won't be changing the map around. There's still some weirdness going on over here. Especially with this corner. This is looking really weird over here. So I gotta really zoom in and try to fix this area and then go back to the top part. But it is getting better. We are getting there. It's looking much better. Oh, I think this is the top. That's why it's causing a problem. There we go. That. Gosh, it's really hard mapping. I've always had a challenge. It's always been challenging for me to do the map design on levels. I hear baby.
Mm-hmm. So talking to herself out there.
Hey, Snowy Dog. I'm working on it. I think it's been like 10 days since I've started this project. Everything is made from scratch. This is the first, except for this. This is the first thing that I've actually imported from like a DLC or something. But I felt I needed it. You know, my artwork is not good enough to live up to what I need this game to do. So luckily, the First Seed Material DLC is going to fill in the art gap that I'm basically lacking here. Speaking of First Seed Material, they put out a new pack today. Different than this. I'll let you be the judge of what you think of it, but you can go to the RPG Maker web forums if you're interested in looking at it, seeing what it looks like, see if you like it. I feel like there's a little bit of perspective issue on some of this, but if you compare it to what it was, which is like a messed up, swampy, garbage thing, looks a lot better. Looks a lot better. Like a cave should go right here. That'll be in the middle top. So let's take this. Hey, how about that? I could do a little transfer event right there. Very nice. Huh. You know what I could do is fix my own tile set a little bit. I don't want to mess with it though, not too much. Instead, let's just let FSM work the magic. Okay, make sure I put this on the right layer. I actually didn't put these vines on the top, on the right layer. That's a shame because I like where they're at. You will notice it right here. What if I just go like this and get rid of like that? There you go. We'll make a difference now. It will though, when the enemies go through it. Yeah, I have to delete them and redo them. Layering. Do you have it? Okay, that's a shame. Let's go to ground middle and put them on the right layer. much better. Okay, so we still have this little mountain area to deal with. I think I'll have most of this grass, except for this little chunk, which will have walls. So basically it's going to be designing the top ring. That'll be on this layer. But then, yeah, let's try this. If I use the paint bucket, yeah, it's going to try to fill everything on there. Okay, let's instead let's go on this one. Guys, I have to end this stream, but thank you so much for coming to the live stream. We're going to be live streaming tomorrow. Let me see, wait, today is Friday. We're going to be live streaming on Monday. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend and everything. Come join us in the Discord. Like this video and live stream if you did enjoy it. We did a lot of good work today. We changed one map and started to turn it around into something that actually looks more presentable. Big shout out to First Seed Material. Go check out the new First Seed Material pack that's available on the RPG Maker webs. Yeah. If you'd like to support what I do, I have a Patreon, patreon.com/driftwoodgaming. I have to run, but you guys are awesome. We'll see you guys on Monday. Come hang out in the Discord. Links in the description below. Bye, guys. Thank you so much, Skeps and Steve, for joining early and just sticking around. You're a boss. Snowy Dog, Double A. He says you could try to replicate pixel art like you did with the character. That way you might improve pixel art. That's a great idea, and I think I'll continue to do that as well. Thank you for the troll, Tommy Hill. Peter Apple, thank you so much for stopping by. Everybody else who was lurking. Wasif Khan, good luck on your midterms. And we'll see you guys. Take care, Snowy Dog.